Yeah, I'm ready.
So I'm here with, man, I'm here with, hey guys, I'm here with Anthony Brogdon, Anthony the Don. He's a filmmaker, man. He's been writing books. He sent me a gorgeous documentary, I think you did on Detroit. And, so man, how you doing, Anthony? And if you want to introduce yourself, because maybe I didn't,
Hold on.
oh, okay. Anthony is on the, I don't know what's going on with Anthony. He's, you can see on the background he has some the black business book. That's a book that he wrote, love for black people. So yeah, did I miss something when I introduced you? Do you want to just?
Yeah, no, I stepped away. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm Anthony Brogdon. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, uh, the motor capital of the world.
Oh yeah, the
Uh,
motor capital of the world, actually.
yeah, the motor capital. This is where Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford are headquartered.
Yeah, yeah,
And so a lot of people in the city own a car.
yeah. That's for sure, man. And what is it you do, Anthony, man? Like you are in movies, you're doing things. Just tell me a little bit about what is it you do, so that people get to know you a little better.
Yeah, well, I'm a filmmaker. I got two documentaries out now.
Mm,
One of them is called The Great Detroit. It's
yeah,
a documentary about my city. Detroit kind of gets beat up in the media, for the decline of the city from the automobile industry, taking a hit like it did over the years.
yeah,
We
yeah,
lost a lot of population as a result of that. Uh,
yeah.
because we lost the population, there are a lot of homes that no one lives in because there's nobody for it. So
Yeah.
it looks kind of bad in certain pockets, and so we get hit.
I can see behind there you have that love for black people. You have your book on the back. Man, yeah, I see
Yeah,
you have like a bunch of if you will listen this on the audio, he has a bunch of certifies on the wall, certification and
yeah.
accomplishments
This is
and
I got some proclamations here for my film. This one here, or these two, all three of these are because of the other film that I did. It's called Business in the Black: The Rise of Black Business in America.
yeah.
So, just to conclude, the Great Detroit is all positive about Detroit. It's got the history of the automobile. It's got the history of Motown Records. It's got the history of techno music, and it shows you the landscape of the city. And it's
What
on Amazon.
man, like why techno music, man? That's oh
Techno music was started in Detroit.
oh my god. I'm having some
You
internet
hear? It,
wait a minute. Okay, we're back online. Back on. It was
yeah,
whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
Techno music was started in Detroit.
All right, so we have techno music. It's from started from Detroit, huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's seven guys who actually are the founders of techno music, and we talk about them in that documentary. And
All right.
over the years, other things happen. Other people come in techno, but it is known that techno started in Detroit. So then, after the Great Detroit documentary, which you can see it is streaming on Amazon, I did the documentary "Business in the Black," which is this one here. And that one talks about the
Yeah,
rise of black
eh,
business in America.
oh, all right, all right, all right, all right. So we have Rise of Black Beast. That's the one you send me via online.
Yes,
That's
yes,
the one you sent me the link, man. That's the one I
yes,
saw. That's
yeah,
the one I was impressed by, man. Because I could see like you were
yeah. You didn't
interviewing
see the
like
Great
some people
Detroit,
that's
but that's the
100.
one.
No, man, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I'm looking
so
forward to
I
it.
did that
So
documentary. That came out in 2017, and then I
all
wrote this
right.
book. I guess you can see it. It's titled Black Business Book, and the book complements the
Yeah, yeah, I
documentary.
can see that.
Yeah. So I'm a
The
and so
Black
I
Business
also
Book.
have a YouTube channel called Strong Inspirations, where I interview people around the world to talk about Black history.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. You know, and I can see like you had some like amazing character. Like you had like some one man named Thomas Kelly, 101 years old man. Tell me a little bit in the documentary. Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
this
well,
story.
he's in the documentary business in the black. And at the time we interviewed him, he was at an event that I had where he was a part of a singing group. He was singing at 101 years old, and it was a quartet. And and so I don't know his background as what he did in life, but he had a quartet that he sang as maybe a side job. I don't know how big they ever got, and he lived to be 103.
No, really?
And
So
yeah,
he's
he
gone
lived to be
now.
103. I'm sorry.
So he's gone now.
Yeah. He's gone now. Yeah, I know. He if
Man, because I could see in the documentary, man, 101 years old. So there was this man that Anthony interviewed, and this man was like standing up and talking and walking around, like looked all sharp with the suit and all
oh
that. That's looking good,
yeah
actually. You
yeah
know.
yeah. No, he it was amazing that he was in such good health, and I think at the time he was living alone at 101.
Oh, oh, okay, 101. Yeah, like he didn't seem to mind. I think I'm sure they, because I've noticed. Like, let's look at COVID. Like, what's going on now, right? Now, I don't know if we talk about this very much, but you have a lot of old people who's alone at home. Okay, who just don't have my God, I have some really don't have anyone to be out with or to talk to. Can you hear me properly, Anthony? Because I'm having some camera.
Yes, I hear you well. Yes.
Okay, so that it's just the camera is that sometimes
Yeah, I
yeah,
hear
yeah,
you and
yeah.
I see
Okay.
you.
Okay, so I'm talking 100 100, I'm talking a lot of elderly people on lockdown in their homes. They have no one to see, no one to talk to, and it's sad, like because I believe there's a lot of depression going on just now, right? A lot of mental health issues, people locked in their apartment, locked in their home. With all of this, what's going on?
Yeah, well,
And what you
that's the
did was,
virus. The virus is messing us up. Yeah.
yeah, it
But
messing us, messing up us.
if you know somebody like that, you should go see him. I got an uncle that's 97. Yeah.
Yeah, people,
So I
especially
hope I
young
get
people,
old.
or even if you're, if you're someone you should just go and see them because they just, just need the attention, just the conversation or getting some attention
Yeah.
or even listening to their story or whatever. You go in, you just have some coffee with them or bring in some, you bring some, I don't know, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
some
Yeah, I agree.
grocery or
You
something like
because
that.
if you with him, you want somebody to do that for you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you would want, right? And many of these people, they're sad,
Yeah.
right? Because they, maybe they were married a long time. They had a partner who, may have just been just gone. Okay, so they are alone, sad. That's so old they can't really get into some other whatever relationship. So they just need, to be talking. So that is important.
Yeah.
And another thing that
Yeah.
is not
No
obvious,
question.
that in some areas, there may not be very many possibility for them to hang out. They may not have a garden or some area where they can just actually hang out and meet people. So that's yeah, that's one thing with the elderlies.
Yeah.
Um, so Detroit, we're talking the automobile history. I have seen some documentaries that was talking about Detroit, and yeah, they was talking about, like you said, the decline of the industry, the automobile industry, the some of the depressions that hit, some of the crimes on the margin of the city. So I mean, from the documentary, it wasn't really a good picture actually. I mean, yes, there were some talents or some people that were doing something, but the way they described the city was, from what I saw, the first time I ever heard about Detroit was this sort of city where this industry is collapsing, where people are going away, where there is maybe a lot of consumption. I mean, of drugs. I don't know if it's really a lot, because as you know, they're trying to do a documentary, so they're trying to make it interesting, so they inflate it sometimes, right? But because you are there on the spot, what can you tell me really about Detroit, about your city, about your experience living in Detroit as a black man?
Yeah. Well, Detroit is a beautiful town. The one thing about Detroit, is different than most cities in America. Detroit is probably 80% black. And so we've had black mayor since the 60s. We've had, black superintendents of the school district, police commissioners, city council members. And so that gives you a sense of pride being in the city where you can kind of control your own destiny, because the person who makes the laws, makes it some favorably without, racial bias. And so it's a good town. We have a beautiful riverfront that separates United States and Canada. So Canada is about a mile across the what they call the Detroit River.
Oh
And
God, that's beautiful.
yeah, so there's Canada, and 4 miles away, 4 hour drive is Toronto, Canada, from Detroit.
Oh fuck, that's a good place. I mean, good place.
Yeah,
Can you drive
yeah,
over? Like, if you're an
yeah.
American?
It's a bridge. It's a bridge that takes 15 minutes to get across, and there's a tunnel. So
Okay.
there's a couple bridges and a tunnel that you can get over to Canada. We have a
Okay.
beautiful island in Detroit called Belle Isle. And the island
Okay.
is probably 4 miles long,
All
and
right.
it's a recreation park. So there's no housing on the island, but there's a couple boat marinas, and baseball fields, and giant slides. There's a beach on the island.
All
And
right.
growing up, I used to go to the island because that's where all the guys and the ladies used to hang out. So when we were chasing the girls and vice versa, we'd go and
Yeah.
meet on the island, and had a good time. So I go on the island, I don't know, 10, 15 times a year. Sometimes, because the island is a 2 minute bridge ride. You can walk over the bridge to get to it. It's called Belle Isle.
And
And
Belayo.
uh,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, Belle Isle.
And what about
And
the? I want to ask one more question. Okay, go on, go on, go ahead, because I can see you
no,
have.
no, but it's a beautiful island. So we have a beautiful riverfront. We have a lot of outdoor concert halls. Um, one of them in particular called Shane Park. Well, really, it's called Aretha Franklin Park now in honor of Aretha Franklin, who just passed. Um, we have that, and so we have. It's a beautiful city. I mean, beautiful landscape.
All right, all right, all right.
Yeah, and the city's on the comeback now too.
Okay, it's on the comeback, because obviously when there is one industry that collapse, what happens is that you may have a lot of just specialized workers that can do just that. Then now what's happening is there is also an evolution in the manufacturing industry. You got robots coming in, you got new technology, etc. So then what I think happens is these people will say, now what the heck we do now? How we reinvent ourselves, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes in factory you'll have a monotonous job, so that doesn't really trigger your creativity. But as long as you have a solid job, you can have a really solid job that can pay your bill, may pay your mortgage, etc. And then one day to another you may be forced to become a creative person, or to go looking for something else, which
yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, you got to
triggers a lot
reinvent
of difficult.
yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah, or you leave because you got to go someplace else and find a job. So we at one point we had about 1.2 million people in the city, and now we're down to about 700,000. So a lot of people left. I left for a while, and came back.
Okay, okay. You left and you came back, right? It was just too much at the time. There was nothing. I mean, it wasn't very interesting, I guess, for you.
Well, our weather can be a little cold in the wintertime, and so I wanted to go someplace that it's warmer. And if all goes, I'll be leaving again, maybe this year, next year, moving to Los Angeles.
Okay, Los Angeles.
Yeah,
As for, I want to ask you, right? Because on the media, we've seen a lot of, especially from United States, a lot of racism, or not a lot, but at least the footage that comes out in the news, right? We see a lot of racism as it comes with interaction with either police officer or with some sort of authorities. I've seen some actions such as that I didn't know about, such as the black farmers and how they were underserved, and how in the farming department, some sort of the farming department, they were doing problems to give them out loans. They were favoring racially favoring. And I think there was one guy who came out who was a former director and said specifically, yes, it was racially structured, and said that sort of kind of 20, 30 years later, because he was kind of repented. So I have seen that. What is good, I guess, is that the media is covering. There is a lot of buzz, a lot of noise around. But I wanted to know, since I can understand that you travel, in comparison to Los Angeles, in comparison to Canada, the vibration to Canada, Detroit, how is on the, you living there, how is it on the racial, because you said, yes, there is black people in government, has been there since the 60s, a badge of pride. But does that really mean that the interaction day to day with the authority, it's better, or I mean, what's going on with Detroit?
yeah, yeah. No, this is one of the better places, because if the head guy has made the mandate that he's not allowing or not accepting, racial things to happen, police brutality, that makes it a better place. And then, when a lot of the judges are African Americans, that gives you a clear shot at it. Where if that's not the case, that judge who has whatever racial attitude, as he does all he can in his own mind to be impartial, but at the same token has some, again, racial bias, you might not have a shot. So Detroit is a better city in that regard.
Okay, so
And to my estimation, I've traveled a lot, extensively, even in the United States here, and even some abroad. It's probably one of the better cities because you have black people in such powerful positions.
you feel more relaxed
Oh
as a
yeah.
black man, like going around Detroit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a little bit different when the police officer that stops you could be a black police officer compared to a white guy.
Oh,
But
okay.
at the same token, that doesn't give you a pass to do something wrong. I mean, we want everybody to uphold the law, but you at least be treated maybe a little more fairly.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, obviously, we are talking about honest citizen interacting in the day to day, either with the police or with, sometimes people go in the government office because they need a permit, or they need some stamps, or they need to get their business going. Just we're talking about just fair, regular people who's, the treatment they receive. And if any, when we are talking about people who may not, because until it is proven and be involved in some sort of illegal activity, there's still there must be a certain regard, no, for human, for basic human rights.
Right.
um, I mean, I believe personally, right? Because I mean, the
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
job
No, there's
is,
no question.
treating people humanly.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, and it's not to say someone black can't do the very best that they can, and it's not to say that just because it's a black person you get a pass neither. Because there's some blacks who maybe a little more harsher for whatever reason. You see it, you hear those stories at the same token, but yeah, you think you got a better shot if it's another black person,
Mm.
again, not using some racial bias as to whatever decision they make.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that a lot. And another thing that I've noticed, I don't know if the same is in US, but it's so many times I see that some people are just closed in their bubble. They either only know black people or they either only hang out with white people, and there's bubble of ideas and friends, and then it just reinforces, and I don't know if that is true in United States, but here in Italy, I mean, some people have said, in all due honesty, I may be the only black person they actually know. Okay, so they kind of enter in that sort of pattern, and they sort of that reinforcement of ideas over and over and over. That's because they have honestly no one in their network. So despite Detroit being, like you say, mostly black, I suppose there must be like a 20% that's white, or at least non-black or Hispanic, or a mix of that. Okay, I want to say, how do you feel are the interaction between these minorities? Do people interact, or just everyone is in their corner in the race, or is
Yeah,
there?
well, yeah, I mean, the individual persons, have that interaction, because of their job, for a long time, because it was, there was such a high percentage of blacks. It was rare to see a white person in your neighborhood, depending
Okay.
on where you lived. Specifically, if you live, now there are neighborhoods that have their own ethnic mix. I mean, we have, for I guess the Chaldean neighborhoods. We have that. We're real huge in Chaldean community, Polish community, um, um, Chinese community. So there are pockets. And people like living around their own people. So
Okay.
that that's kind of understandable. So you play your own music, and the person next to you listens to your music and that kind of thing. So I don't think your family, a lot of times live in the same area, in different homes and that kind of thing. So that dictates that is part of segregation, if you want to call it. And we have all kind. We have Mexican community, a real huge Mexican community, where there's a lot of restaurants and such in that same area. But so there is interaction. I didn't go to my high school was probably 95% black. Um, the college that I went to, which is about 45 minutes outside of Detroit, was not a predominantly black college. So we were in the minority in that instance. But even
Okay.
still,
Okay.
yeah, I interacted with some whites, because of the organizations that I was involved in. But
And
Detroit,
how does
you
that
can
change?
pretty much just
How does
be with black people.
I'm asking you, how does that change like your vibration? Do you feel like you're like when you're, for example, you're experiencing this college? Do you feel like you're different, or you're being observed, or you're more on the alert, or what's going on? You're just cool, or you feel cooler when you're more what's going on, right? Because it's two different way of the way you feel. Maybe also because of the weight of all of this history. So I want to
Yeah,
know your
yeah,
feeling
right.
as a.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
question. I mean, these are the people you grew up with. There weren't any white people for the most part in my neighborhood. So, me and the guys I hung out with, did different things that, that we built our own bond. And so,
Okay.
uh, growing up, I didn't probably have a lot of interaction with people of the other races, but I mean, you saw them, when you go different neighborhoods and that kind of thing. But I didn't have to go to their neighborhood for anything. My neighborhood had all I needed, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
stores and
yeah.
stuff like that. So I didn't have to travel over there. But and then there was a couple neighborhoods like right on the outside of Detroit that were known to have some racial strife because they were all white neighborhoods. And so, years ago, it was kind of known you don't go over there. The police will look at you differently, wondering why you there, because wasn't many blacks living in the neighborhood. So what you doing over here? And so you get that kind of dynamic, and the white people protected their neighborhood. But a lot of
This
that
is
has changed.
thi- this is what I'm. Yeah, this. I hope it is changed, but this is what I'm saying. This is why asked about the interactions, because I have a feeling that people just don't talk to each other. especially when there is maybe a segregated geography. Because in your documentary, you talked about how they actually built a street in Detroit to separate neighborhood and people. And I want you to talk about that street, and how that architecture, urbanistics, gets into the process of dividing, people, and putting people apart from the
Yeah, well, what you
financial,
speak,
from each other. Yeah.
yeah, what you speak of happened in the, and I think in around the 60s, 50s, 60s, and there was a white guy who was a developer because he put a wall up because the federal government and their racist policies uh, what and one of the policies was called redlining, that they if black people lived in a certain area, they did things to say that their house values were less, their taxes could be higher, didn't get the same type services as white people would get, in terms of cleaning of the streets, garbage pickup, so on and so forth. And so as a result of that, he built a wall that said, okay, this area right here is not for blacks. Only whites can live in this area. And the wall separated blacks from whites. It wasn't like you couldn't climb over the wall or anything like that. But nonetheless, that was his way of satisfying the federal government so that his area could have those benefits that the next people one wall over could not get. And that's some years ago. I mean, that's just racism. And the wall still stands. I mean, the wall is probably 4 feet tall or something like that. But all the white people on that side of the other side of the wall, they've left, and the wall has no significance other than the memories of why it was built.
So now, yeah, you're talking about the wall, but I was thinking that they kind of someone built actually a street to separate the sort of the production line, to kind of cut out of business the black stores. I think you said that in the documentary. Uh, is that so? Okay, let me just recap for a moment. So we are talking about a white man who was in government, who built up a wall to just separate blacks from white with this sort of schizophrenia. I'd call it schizophrenia because you have to be schizophrenia. So this schizophrenia was going on in these years. I think there is some backlashes up to this day when you look at some of the recent figures in government of this schizophrenia. But then we are also talking about invisible walls. Okay, so we're talking about taxes being raised. We are talking about shady things that are occurring within the houses of government, to tax more the black neighborhood, to lift, to down cut the value of properties, obviously to take advantage, I imagine, to take advantage or to degrade those areas, or maybe to put some worse schools or worse education. I mean, because doing this type of policy may be for then buying, appropriating land, or buying or doing some basically favoring people that basically favoring the what we can call the financial sharks, or favoring one community of the other. So these are, specific walls and boundaries that, like you said, were created to, specifically to damage the black people and the black economy. Okay, and the kind of thing that is interesting is that it's always sort of concealed, there is sort of like kind of a mask, and then underneath there is all of this shady thing going on. Uh,
Yeah,
that is on the line between what is legal and what is criminal. And but another thing
yeah,
is that some things are so arrogant or so obviously racism that some of the things you talked about, that's like truly obvious racism, that tells you really how open it is, how just racist. That's that's kind of the attitude, or I mean the attitude that we show. So yeah, that's my recap. I hope I understood I interpreted.
yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's just racism. It's just on one hand, one guy, along with other people who look like him, saying that we're going to do what we can to spend the dollars we can to help our own people as much as we can, and then what's left over, let's say we spend it on the other people, and that's racism. I don't think racism ever go away, but it's less overt now. Black people can live
Yeah,
wherever they
and
want to
then
live in our city.
yeah, they are wherever
Yes.
they want to live. Also, one thing of having 80% of black people is that you have more, maybe you have more visible example of success, or various black people being wealthy, middle class, or so many. So you can see really a lot of differences, like you say, black people living everywhere, and all of that. Whereas if you are in predominantly white city, then you're probably just gonna find maybe just one black person, I don't know, living in some mostly white neighborhood. Who
Yeah.
knows? Like, it changes a little bit. Also, the perception may even change the perception you have of yourself growing up in that city. You may
Yeah.
have the
Right. Yeah.
perception as
No.
being, more,
Yeah. I
more powerful,
myself,
more viable.
I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, and then 2 blocks over, the houses got bigger, and they were black people over there, and I used to go and hang out and play with them. And then maybe another 4 or 5 blocks, even further than that, the houses were bigger, and again they were blacks, maybe blacks and whites. But then on the other side of me, 2 blocks, it was a little less in terms of the wealth that were in those neighborhoods. Houses were smaller, so I got a good dichotomy of all of it. But again, with the city being 80% black, or even a little higher
So
than that,
here is one
it was
more
all black
thing
people I did.
you
Yeah,
could see, because back in the day there was not the internet. Nowadays you can just tune in, you can see examples of success of people from all colors, blacks, white, pink, yellow, whatever, that being successful. Okay, but
yes,
driving through the street, you could see the ladder. You could see that possibility. You could see the ladder. You could see the step by step. That as you could get there, there was someone. There was someone like two like you, that was 3 blocks over there that were doing slightly less affluent, and then 5 blocks over there down the road, you had someone who had a bigger home, and so on. As you drive through the street, you could see a path, and a path of
yes,
possibility and opportunities. And I guess
yes,
that's could have been, I mean, was very valuable for a young man in your time, for
yes,
anyone to just see it, to
yes,
witness it. A time where you couldn't connect on Google, on internet, a time where you couldn't contact maybe some other black person so easily, that was hanging in Los Angeles. You didn't know there was some other realities because you didn't have all this technology, right? So that
yes,
must have been, I guess, impactful.
yes. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And then it is, can encourage you to want to do better, so you could get the bigger house, the nicer cars. That always plays into your psyche. And you had the opportunity to, it's a fair shot. You go and get a good education, get some skills, that type thing, and then become very good at whatever you are able to offer as an employee, in terms of offering your business. You can excel.
Yeah, let's
And
also
get to work.
underline that, underline the education, and underline another thing, the social access, effect of knowing more affluent people, effect of being in people who's already doing something, who's already have business. So that having that network, and having that appropriate education, having at least a skill that you can do properly, even if you're just a carpenter, whatever, but if
Yes,
you can do a good job, you're really skilled,
yes,
you could see a path, a way of making money, of starting. You go to maybe you're someone with bigger home that needs some ceilings or some floors. You have a good carpenter, you start from there, and you could see yourself 5 years down the line, having 5 trucks, or I don't know, of carpentering, and 15 employees or 20. you know you could see, at least you could see
yes.
this path. That's
Yeah,
important.
right. And the beauty of being in Detroit is, compared to other cities, is that the automobile industry paid very well. By comparison. So, they paid well. It was hard work. It depended on what your skill, or what you did, but it was hard work, and maybe even some dangerous. But it paid very well. And with overtime, you can make a lot of money, and you take the money, you buy a bigger home, and maybe then you decide to use your extra dollars to open up a business, and then the sky is the limit.
Okay, so that say that the automobile industry somehow laid a foundation for maybe what was your generation, your parent generation, to build up some financial wealth, to get a financial structure, get some, maybe go into the bank, get some, just get that base, get those business started, and then maybe you could work overtime, and you could have some relative running your whatever small size, mid-sized business, hand it over to your children, and now with a base, you sort of have like, okay, well, you have something in your hands.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was a lot of that. I've been self-employed all my life as a result of, just a desire to want to be, and was able to easily find other people who thought like I did, and they became my friends, and so business partners, and so on and so forth. So you go from there.
So now
Yeah,
let's yeah, you kind of found your way. You made a sort of a
yeah, oh yeah,
decision. You looked around the environment. You said, okay, I want to be self-employed. Maybe you asked your chance. You said, well, there's a pretty good chance that I can make it given my education, my abilities, cognitive ability, the environment. I mean, the geographical environment. I mean, that maybe I can make a way out of myself doing this or that, or just doing this other craftsmanship.
right.
Whether yeah. So yeah, I could see that. Now let's get a little bit in black business, because you, in your documentary, I watched it, you have three parts to the film, and the first part is how slave did get education. So for those of you who don't know, I watched the documentary, and passing from specific, we're talking specifically US, passing from slavery to getting an education and to getting access to college, it wasn't a picnic. So Anthony here is going to explain to us, because how did that happen? How that went about happening? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Anthony.
Well, it went about in, when we go back to slavery, it was forbidden for slaves to learn how to read and write. The owners didn't want them to, because then if they could understand that this is not, there's a better way of life out there, by maybe reading some books or communicating among themselves, that someone was exposed to, hey, we got to figure out a way to get away from our conditions. But I mean, they did. I mean, there's always, people that are going to excel. And so somebody, even their owners might have taught some of them, because of the compassion, and learn how to read and write. And then, there's always people that's going to excel at whatever is in front of them. And so some of them were able to then go and be so proficient that they went to college. And so even during slavery, there were three what we call historically Black institutions, HBCUs. These were colleges just for Black students. And so even before slavery ended, there were three of those. And then the year that slavery ended in 1865, when the Civil War ended, um, another three or four came up that year, and then it just burst on the scene. We even had law schools, black little law schools for Black students, specifically for Black students, only 2, 3 years after slavery ended. So we've always wanted to have an education, and when given the chance, we figured it out. We did the homework. We read the books. We wrote the papers. We turned in the assignments, and graduated. From colleges to law schools to medical schools, and then there were other
Just,
white institutions
just
too
hang in
that
there,
were
because
accepting Blacks.
I'm gonna find a book that I don't know how I found this book. I sort of find it in a bookshelf in some library. Very hard to find, but I'm gonna pull it out, because I think maybe it's exemplified. Well, I don't know, that particular word is, it could serve as an example to this what we are saying, and I'll be back in just a second, Anthony.
Okay.
here I am. I'm back, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead with your
Gotta tell
presentation.
you, I got a call. I got about another 15 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So
All right.
we
Yeah, I
talked
gotta get.
about education, black people getting
Yeah.
in college, pushing boundary. Then the compound growth happened. It sort of exploded because there's, like in everything, like in sports, as soon as someone breaks a record, bang, there's everyone else, the masses getting in. Progress, obviously, the first one that pushed through, they had to suffer also the most, pay the bigger price for the rest. Okay.
Right.
Then let's get into real quick black businesses, the story of that, the journey of that, from college to black businesses. How did that happen? And let's talk also about some of the lynching, the mobs, the resistance from the white, white counterpart. I'm gonna do a small parenthesis. Interesting how racism changes all of these dynamics. That we go such a crazy about race, this, that. But that's a product of this order. Go ahead, Anthony. Black business.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a number, there were even white colleges accepting blacks, back in those days, because they understood that we had the abilities and wanted us as students.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening, Anthony, because I'm just reading. I'm kind of reading a
Yeah,
mini book,
yeah.
so I can intervene. Yeah. So black
Okay.
businesses. Let's talk a little bit about maybe Black Wall Street, the burning of this, this other business, and lynchings and things that occur to kind of sabotage the black
Yeah.
business world.
Yeah, yeah. You on point. You know your history. That's good. Yeah, Black Wall Street was and there were many of them across the country back in the 1900s, early 1900s, when slavery had ended about 30 years earlier, and black people were making their own neighborhoods because that's where only place they could live, and the white stores was not accepting them as patrons or treating them badly, charging them higher fares, what have you. And so Black Wall Street was one particular black business neighborhood in the state of Oklahoma, which is on the other side of the country from me in America here. And they had a lot of black businesses. They had hotels, they had, barbershops, uh, you know, grocery stores, everything you can need to stay within your own community. And they also, that state has oil in the ground. And so on the land of many of the black owners, they had oil. So they had extra money coming in from the oil. And so they built this district called Black Wall Street. And so the white people are mad that the black people are not spending their money with them. And so that jealousy, rears its ugly head.
That's the one thing, right? Because I suppose at the time they weren't. I don't know. Maybe they were hiring, but if they were hiring at trying to probably hire at a lower price, etc. But it's funny, right? Because if they're not hiring or not giving chances to many people to then earn money from their stores, is this sort of they definitely want you to spend there. Uh, I mean, is that true? But then go ahead. I just want to know if this is a correct, accurate situation because you studied this deeply. And then I'm sorry for interrupting you, please.
Yeah, yeah. No, they weren't hiring. I mean, it's on one hand, it goes like this. They say, okay, we're going to treat you badly. We don't want you in our store. We want you in the back. We don't want to have anything to do. We're going to charge you more higher prices. And we don't want you to be able to do nothing about it. So then we start doing something about it by starting our own. And now they don't have our money coming into their stores. So then they get mad because you're not spending your money with us. No matter how bad we treat you, we still want you to spend your money and just take whatever we dish out. And so one night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was a black guy who was dating a white girl, and they were on the elevator, and they would kiss when nobody else was there and that kind of thing. And then one day they got caught. The white guy caught them kissing. He got mad. He went back and told everybody the black guy was raping the white girl. And the white
Okay, we
people
talking.
said, hey,
However, we talking 19. We talking
21.
1921. Okay, this other one, but there is some take on that Malcolm X talked about the fear up in the 60s, 70s, the fear of the white man with the no, the black man with the white woman, some sort of
Yeah,
paranoia that maybe has to do with some of the narrative that was built in the 30s, 40s by white authors or by this movie Birth of a Nation, or something to do with deeply rooted in racism. I don't know, maybe more older than that, but which now it's sort of dismantling or falling down. But we have to remember that there was one of these main fears. Go ahead, Anthony.
yeah, yeah. So he went out and said the black guy was raping a white girl. White people got mad. They took the black guy to jail, and they were gonna kill him. And the white girl said he wasn't raping her. That's my boyfriend. He said I wasn't raping her. That's my girlfriend. We don't care to hear that. We're gonna kill him. And the black people said we're not gonna have it. So they stood up against him. And but the white people had bigger guns and so on and so forth. And so they killed almost 300 people in over one night, just shooting
Wow.
innocent people.
So we're talking 300 people, and here we're talking of a scenario of a mob. So we're talking a mob of people just doing damage. Okay. Another thing is not just the weapons; it's the backing of some sort of power or some sort of higher authority. That can be the main state, or it can be some some big high-ranking members
Yeah,
of the government in the city that say kind of we're gonna close the eyes. Uh, what I suppose is that on the forefronts of this, there were already some people who were, really rather more radical on the violence. However, at that time, that historical period, that it was pretty commonly accepted. The entire paradigm was changed. It was some neurotic
yeah,
paradigm was, being racism was racist, like that deeply racist, that crazy was sort of part of the normal. Okay, so we're talking here
yeah,
racialized, segregated America, but we can see, okay, we're talking, Anthony, 300 dead people slaughtered, for no reason, for repercussion. And this
yeah,
episode, black man kissing a white woman, as if you already have understood, people listening, was merely an excuse, to because obviously the violence was about to blow. That was just an excuse to get it going. They were looking for the
yeah,
provocation to
yeah,
just blow things apart.
yeah. Well, I got another meeting, but I just want to tell you if there's a way we can get some copies of my book over there to you. The book is only $10 in American. I don't know what it is in your denomination, but maybe we can talk offline. And there's a bookstore or something like that. Because I don't know if you can read it on Amazon in Italy, but you can in Amazon UK. I don't know if that is a channel that you all can get. But let's
Yeah,
talk
we
about
can.
it. I'd love for you to get some copies of the book over there to get to some of your friends.
We can talk about it. I
Yeah,
definitely, we can talk about it. This behind closed door, because I have some people. Look, they sending me some book to do some book reviews, and I have some others. I told them the other day I was talking to some person, some girl, to do me can you send me a signed copy? So I'm setting up also that, and I definitely, we can talk about. Okay, we can definitely
yeah,
talk about. I know you're very busy man, Anthony.
yep.
Thank you for a very insightful
Thank
conversation.
you. Thank you
Uh,
for having me on your channel.
okay, let's remind the audience, the small audience or big or small, whatever, the audience, that what are your books? Where are your documentary, Amazon, all that?
Okay,
Go ahead.
let me just go over it. This is the one called about Detroit. It's called The Great Detroit. This is the one about the history of Black business in America. It's titled Business in the Black. And then those are documentaries. And then this is the book. It's titled Black Business Book.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
of these are available on Amazon. Anthony is available on Facebook. You can find him, Anthony
Yes.
Brogdon, and we close it here, peoples. End of the
Thank you.
recording.
All right. Be safe.
Be safe.
Bye-bye.